power belongs to those who have free minds. Those who can see behind the veil of illusion, know the truth, and can stand on it.
My pro-black, really pro-black, anti-hip-hop dress code. That's no cap, no vax. My white cells assassinate. Any kind of virus get chewed up, masticate. My immunity's indestructible. I'm a pillar of my community, no deductible. General Tucson leading the revolution. To black problems, we are the only fucking solution. No outsiders, no white saviors, we gatekeeping. I keep trying to wake them up cause they stay sleeping. Jux is armed with ancestral wisdom, so I don't trust people that still trust the system. We gotta eat like Sebi, fight like Ali, think like Malcolm. I break the Mercury Somali. I carry my own water, so I value every drop of it. Drowning at the bottom, so I swim up to the top of it.
If I say it, then I mean it. I'm never backing down. Only a few real ones left now. If it's truth, then I'ma stand on it. If it's justice, then I'ma stand on it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'll never take it back. And if you ever hear me say it, then it's facts. That's my word, and I'ma stand on it. That's what you heard, I'ma stand on it. Yeah. What happened to principles, character, fortitude? Healing through alchemy, magic is what I'm born to do. Time to purge the planet from human toxicity. People do any and everything for publicity. It's way out of control, destructive, they weak and careless. We either stand for what is right or else the people perish. Putting these devils in a panic, now we got them frantic. The righteousness of justice is poetic, Pac and Janet. You don't know lies from truth when you wearing blinders. Wisdom separates the strong people from the spineless. They tell me to kill them with kindness, be considerate, but everybody's capping out here, nothing's legitimate. Nobody surrounded us everywhere, but the souls is missing. The enemy is always watching and the ops is listening. No wonder most of these people feeling defeated. The language of God is encoded and they can't read it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'm never backing down. Only a few real ones left now. If it's truth, then I'ma stand on it. If it's justice, then I'ma stand on it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'll never take it back. And if you ever hear me say it, then it's facts. That's my word, and I'ma stand on it. That's what you heard, I'ma stand on it. Rusty Jux, High Phoenix, yeah.
We still upon that. For the 50 years of hip hop, support the God Knowledge Born, Student Knowledge Radio, 8 years. And knowledge is accumulation of all facts. People the God of earth. All right, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio. Place for Knowledge is Born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alavi, here with a special guest by special request. Okay, I've been bothering the doctor for about 6-7 years. You know, she thought I was a weirdo dude. Like, man, why you keep bothering me? Asking me about some energy, fam. I don't even know you like that, fam. Stop bothering me, okay? I get to you when I get to you. So, you know, I waited, my time. And I'm thankful to the Most High, all that is holy, that she is here with us today to share her gifts, her talents, her journey, and her trek through the mind in several spaces and several places to give us some of that true ancestral wisdom and correction that we need in order to navigate the treacherous waters of the mind. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some and present to others a true it for healing, a true advocate for mental competency, spiritual competency, emotional competency, and family competency. Because if your mind is plagued, nothing in your reality makes sense. So our wellness advocate holistically is here with the answers and the truth, okay? The TRUF, the truth, okay? right? So, founder of Trap Therapy, my sister and Divine Queen Mother is here, Dr. Huskey. Welcome to the platform. How you been?
Thank you
How
for
you
having
feeling? Thank you on this winter solstice.
me. All is well. All is well. How are you?
Good. I'm working on my tan. Okay. Because
Working
Michael Jackson
on
said they want to be starting
activating
something.
that melanin right quick.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Because they Michael Jackson said they want to be starting something because they got to be starting something. So,
Hmm.
you know, as long as my melanin on point, I can deal with it.
For
Okay.
sure.
All right. All right. All right. All right. So you got a long journey that began with a couple of steps. So what were those steps? And what was the inclination for those steps to begin your trek in working with us from a holistic fashion, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical?
I think it started when I was really young. Um, I dealt with some traumatic events, had lost some loved ones, um, dealt with some things in my life where I needed someone like myself. I needed someone to come in and show me a natural way to get my mind, my body, and my spirit together. But instead, I was sent to the only option that we had back then, which was medicine. Um, I was deemed to be hyperactive, and so you have to go through the whole thing of she's talking in class, she won't sit still, she's disruptive, she's causing a problem. So let's medicate her so that she doesn't do that. My mom didn't go for that for very long, thank goodness, but it didn't help. It just put me in a zombie like state. And then I had one teacher who was fresh out of school that actually paid attention. And she's like, she's not hyperactive, she's bored and she's understimulated. So instead of chastising me when I'm up and moving around and disrupting class, now she gives me extra worksheets or she has an extra workbook for me to look at because I'm done with my work. I'm waiting on everybody else. So now I want to mess and talk to everybody. So she stimulated me instead of punishing me. And it just kind of me growing and noticing how she handled that. I was like, I wonder how many other kids are misdiagnosed with things like ADHD and hyperactivity and behavior problems when really they're just bored. And so that kind of sparked that path for me of wanting to be that person that makes sure these kids get what they need to get. And so that was what inspired me from the beginning to get into mental health. It still took me a long road to get there. I had to be bad and an out of control teenager first, but I got there. But that was definitely what sparked it. I saw how I was misdiagnosed. I saw how I was mistreated. I saw how teachers were so ready as a young black girl, especially being in the deep south, they were ready to just write me off as having a bad attitude and not being compliant, even thinking that maybe I needed some remedial help when actually I was academically gifted and I was just bored with what they were teaching me because I already knew these things. You can't have me come in and read a book with 8 chapters when my parents at home got me reading Alex Haley books. It's not going to keep me interested. It's not going to stimulate my mind. And even as an adult now, if I'm not stimulated, if I get bored, I will wander off. I need to have that stimulation and something to keep my attention.
Look at God, okay? Look at God allowing your behavior to be a catalyst for your behavior. Ain't that something? Won't
Hmm.
she do it? Okay. Won't she do it? Won't
Yes,
she
you.
be like, look at you and look at you? Okay. Look at you and look at you. Okay. Because that is beautiful. And that's a rare thing, at least where I'm from, where the young women didn't get in trouble for talking in class
Oh,
or acting the fool in the class. It's the young brothers who couldn't sit still and they talking loud and being disruptive and we looking violent and vigilante, and we getting in trouble for that kind of behavior. You
Mm-hmm.
know, with myself, even with my own sons, it's like, okay, this is what the teacher's gonna be calling about. But we had a little fisticuff. I didn't like bullies, and I didn't like misinformation. So I fought against misinformation, and I fought against bullies in the class. Literally, those was the instances where I got in trouble in school, and I seen my sons kind of going in that lane. So recognizing that and dealing with that accordingly is something as well that we need to look at and consider. We have to remember ourselves. You have to remember our ancestral track and things like that. Like, all right, I have to understand what's going on here, and learn how to navigate that. So aside from the medication, and then this teacher taking time to analyze you and come up with a treatment plan, so to speak, without calling it a treatment plan,
Mm-hmm.
implementing those strategies. How do you now work with parents with children in similar situations, and how do y'all navigate the tumultuous waters of the school where they're like, oh, such and such needs to be tested, or we need an IEP, or we need to. Da, 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 da. They got so used to that as being the primary thing that they're not open to anything else. So how do you work with the administration and the mental state of the parent in that case?
Yeah, most of the time in most of these schools in my area, the administration hate to see me coming. They
Mm,
know if I gotta come to the school, y'all messed up some kind of way. I'm very much an advocate for making sure that children, to me, if you're a teacher, if you are an administrator, whether you're a guidance counselor or principal, it's literally your job to make sure that this child learns what they need to learn. And all children don't learn the same way. So you don't get
mm,
to be lazy and just create one type of lesson plan and think that your whole class is going to receive it the same way. No, do your job, do what you went to school for. And there is this misconception in the school system that Black parents don't care, because a
mm,
lot of us have shown them that. If they tell you little man is acting up at school, you don't want to take the time off work, or you don't feel like dealing with it, or it's just I'm gonna whoop his butt when he get home. And none of those are effective ways of correcting the issue. You have to show that they're involved, because if you show that you're involved as a parent, these teachers are way less likely to just dismiss your students' needs. And so for me, I want to be that person that if a kid comes up to me and they say, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this. I've asked my teacher for help. I've asked my guidance counselor for help. They're not helping me. Oh, I'm coming. Let me come eat lunch with you and see what's going on." Because they need to see that somebody cares, that somebody is paying attention. So many things happen to especially our young Black men in schools where they just kind of brush them off. Some of these brothers are, because they have a more urban, more hood delivery, or more they're exposed to that type of lifestyle, it comes out in their walk, their talk, their demeanor. And some of these teachers equate that with being less intelligent or being ignorant because of the way that they carry themselves. And so something that I like to do is the way that you see me dressed now, if I'm going to a school, if I'm going to a church, if I'm going to a board meeting, I look just like this. I still got my grill in. You can still see my tattoos, and I still sound just like this, because I need to be an example for these kids that you can be ghetto. You can be from the hood, and you can be exactly who you are, but you can also be educated, and they can't take that from you. And so it's just a matter of being there, I think, is the biggest thing with these school kids. Because a lot of the parents can't, whether it be because of work or because nobody taught them how to be there because nobody was there for them. I'll stand in the gap if I have to until we as a community get that right.
mm. Okay. Okay. So how do you navigate the waters? Ain't nothing wrong with my child type situation.
I always tell parents, because baby, a Black mama trying to tell her son or her daughter needs some extra help, they turn into a mama bear. I never present it in a way that something is wrong with your child, because that's not the case. Whatever their mental diagnosis, whatever their delay or their issue may be, it's not something that's wrong with your child. It's something that requires an adjustment. If your child does have a short attention span, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with him or her. That means you need to take shorter bursts of learning. If I know that little Timmy can't pay attention but 10 minutes, I need to give him mini lessons that last for 10 minutes, hit high and low, hit the high points in that 10 minutes, and then give him a break. Come back and do 10 more minutes. I can't expect him to sit in class for an hour and retain everything if I'm just up there talking. And so though that's where the IEPs and things like that come into play. If a parent is active, an IEP can be a good thing because it literally shows them how to educate your child the right way. But if they don't have that in place, they're just sticking them in these classrooms, talking to them for 45 minutes to an hour and saying, here go a test. I hope you remember what I said. And that just doesn't work. So I do tell the parents, there's nothing wrong with your child. Your child learns differently. And we got to figure that out, how they learn, so that we can teach them properly. For example, I have a daughter who has what's formerly known as Asperger's disorder. She's on the autism spectrum and she's 7 years old. Now, book wise, she's smart as a whip, genius level IQ. Socially, she does not get along well with others. She doesn't play well with others. She comes across as very defiant because if you tell her we're going to lunch at 11 o'clock and it's 11:03 and y'all ain't went to lunch yet, now you've thrown off her routine and now there's a problem. And so she does have an IEP that says she needs to stick to set routines. That if you're going to throw her off of her routine or something is going to change drastically, you need to talk to her about that ahead of time or she going to show out. Now, if I wasn't an involved parent, they would have probably put my child in special education. They probably would have thought that she wasn't intelligent because of socially how she displayed her emotions. But no, I've been there since day one, letting them know I ain't that kind of mama. This ain't that. We're going to get her what she needs because there's no reason why she can ace every test, but y'all telling me something is wrong. That means something is wrong with you and your method of teaching. So let's tweak it so my child can get it. And I think a lot of kids need that.
Now, what kind of education, training slash background journey did you have to go on to find yourself where you are today?
I'm still in school. I started off with a bachelor's in psychology from Grambling University, and then um, moved on to a master's in psychology, eventually getting my doctorate. I just received my doctorate in theology and spiritual sciences. And currently, I should be finishing December 2024. I'm in school for naturopathic medicine so that I can be a holistic physician. It's really important to me for just to get Black folks off of all these medications. Our ancestors did not need all that, and they lived in full, healthy lives, and they were just fine. And so I'm not completely against medication, but if there's an alternative method, I say let's go with that. You can't expect for, and I don't want to get your podcast shut down if
Go
I
ahead, go ahead. Do what you gotta do. Do what
but
you gotta do.
to these big pharmaceutical companies. If I make money off of treating sick people, if I make money off of giving you medicine and off of you being sick, it is not productive for me to help you to get well. If I make money off of sickness, I'm not going to promote health. It just would be counterproductive. And so that's why you can come to me and you can say, oh, I've got migraines, and I'm going to give you 3 different pills for migraines. But it's going to cause you 27 side effects that ain't have nothing to do with your migraines. So now your headaches went away, but now you got problems with your kidneys and problems with your liver. And now you got suicidal thoughts. So now you need more medication in different areas. And so once I picked up on that, I was like, you know what? Nah, this ain't it right here. So instead of medication, instead of giving your child Ritalin, giving your child Adderall, there's a root called ashwagandha that you can give them that helps them to calm down and focus and pay attention. And it's all natural and it doesn't affect their organs. So I always wanted to look for alternative methods like that. So I got into naturopathic medicine. So I got herbs everywhere. My daughter went to school and was like, my mama got a herb for everything. If her head hurt, she got a herb. If her stomach hurt, she got a herb. And her poor naive teacher thought she was talking about marijuana. So
Oh,
she pulls me she pulls me to the side and she's like, Kimani said if your head hurts that you take herbs, if your stomach hurts you take herbs. You may want to be careful about her telling people that. I'm like, no, you need to be careful about your stereotypes because she's talking about literal herbal supplements. She's talking about plants. What are you talking about? But I'm always gonna go with the natural way. If I can help it, if it's not something that requires surgery, I'm gonna doctor on myself with something natural before I pop a pill. A lot, right?
I mean, that was my mother's way. That was my mother's way. My mother's way. Uh, listen, naturopathic. You know, master iridologist, herbologist,
Mm,
nutritionist. 3 decades of her life is spent in that particular lane. You know,
that's awesome.
longer with the services. So understanding that, yeah,
Hmm.
and she was always in school. And she always had us in school with us. Everything was a school.
Hmm.
So
I try to
misinformation.
I
Go
try to
ahead.
preach teach to especially black women because if you it's always been my thought process that if you teach the women, they're gonna teach the children. And that's the best way to get a lesson out. Um I always preach and teach to black women that even though you are American, your DNA is African. So
Mhm.
even though you may have been born in North Carolina, your DNA still belongs to whatever tribe you came from in Africa. And so this whole wave of getting these ancestry tests and finding out where you're from, if you're gonna go and do that, I say look into that region that it says where you're from. Look at what those people eat. Look at what type of care they have, what kind of medications or what type of just lifestyle they live and adapt to that. Because, for example, my family is Ethiopian. Ethiopians have a mainly seafood diet because they're near the water. So, naturally, what my DNA is going to do is reject anything other than that. So things like beef that a lot of Ethiopians don't eat because Ethiopia is a beach type of ground. There's nowhere for cows to graze. They don't raise a lot of cows, so they don't eat a lot of beef. They don't have a lot of pigs around, so they don't eat a lot of pork. They mainly eat seafood and chicken. And so naturally, I had things like intestinal health issues from trying to eat beef, trying to eat pork. And my DNA is like, girl, this is not what we do. When I cut those things out of my diet, I didn't have those issues anymore. So what medical doctors had considered to be chronic or lifelong issues like Crohn's disease that I would be dealing with, I simply changed my diet to fit more of an Ethiopian diet. I haven't had those issues anymore. And
Mhm.
so we have to study each other and study just our natural makeup and our natural composition to figure out how to treat us because this American stuff ain't it. It's not it.
And ain't it for nobody. Not
Mm-mm.
nobody living. If you don't have no issues with this diet and environment, you're not alive. You
No.
here though, but you ain't alive.
Before I switched my diet over and switched to a more natural path, I was probably in the hospital maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And when I say in the hospital, I mean over a month for each hospital stay. The last time that I was in the hospital before switching over, I went into the hospital on November 2nd and I was still there Valentine's Day. I was still
Mm.
there for my mom's birthday, which was March 10th. I got out of the hospital at the end of March. And this is them pumping me full of medications, trying every treatment in the world, going through 6 or 7 surgeries. And I had an old woman from Nigeria come in and give me some tea to drink for 3 days. She came into the hospital. She's like, tell them you're not eating their food. Tell them you don't want that medicine. Drink this tea and detox yourself. You have too much mucus in your body, and that's what's making you sick. I drank that disgusting tea for 3 days. They came in, they did my blood work. Everything's looking great. We know you've been here for 3 months, but everything looks fine. We can't find a problem now. And so I was like, you know what? If she figured out in 3 days what they couldn't figure out in 4 months, I'm going to go her way. I don't want to be laid up in the hospital for no reason, for them just to poke and prod at me. Let me look a little bit more into this natural and holistic way of living.
Yeah. Been trying to take your reproductive organs and all kind of stuff up in there. They got nothing to do with black anatomy generally and black women's anatomy in specific. So all of the tales in medical apartheid that still happen right now, the cesareans, infant mortality rates and mother mortality rates, 8 out of 10 for black women. Black children dying in hospitals, all of those things that are happening. You ain't got to get sewn up or set a bone in place. Ain't no reason for you to be there. You understand what I'm saying? No reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a huge problem in both the medical side and on the mental health side where Black women in particular get dismissed a lot. They have this conception of us that we are extra, that we're dramatic, that we pretty much cry wolf, as they say. And so if a Black woman comes in and says my pain level is at an 8, they're going to treat you like your pain level is at a 4 because they think you're doing too much. You're just being extra. But your pain level may really be at an 8, and they need to be attentive to that and treat you as such. But they completely ignore us. I've witnessed it firsthand. I literally almost lost my life from them being dismissive. I sat in a hospital and told them how bad my side was hurting, told them that it hurt every time that I inhaled. I was having a hard time breathing. And they're like, okay, we'll let the doctor know. They did this to me for 2 days. And finally, the machines start going off. My blood pressure's through the roof. They can't figure out what's going on. I ended up leaving one hospital because they still weren't doing anything. I still hadn't seen a doctor. Even though my blood pressure had gone up to stroke level, they still hadn't sent a doctor into my hospital room. I checked out of one hospital and went to another. As soon as they wheeled me through the doors of the second hospital, I collapsed. When I woke up, they told me they had removed 4 blood clots from my lungs. Now, this was something that doesn't happen overnight. If they had listened the first time, I told them, hey, my side is hurting, my stomach is distended, it hurts when I breathe. Can we check this out? They would have seen what was going on. But because they were dismissive, I almost passed because these clots started to move, and that's what caused me to collapse. So that was another thing that was like, okay, girl, get back in school because they're going to kill somebody out here with this Americanized way of treating us.
Right. And it just come tell you with some kind of complication,
Mm-hmm.
and your family will be like RIP for a few days and then get back on the living. Like
Exactly.
nothing
Go
happened.
have a fish fry and put you on a t-shirt and get on back.
Right. Right. Yeah. Very treacherous. So thankfully there's some advocates in the field like yourself who have that inclination, you know, from your own lived experience to be able to be a proper advocate and a proper tool of education. Still, people still going to have to make their own choices and decisions, but at least they're informed decisions. So whether somebody with a dashiki give me Hadol or Paxol or lithium or somebody with a lab coat. It's the same. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? It's the same. And I understand that the hands are tied based off of the overwhelming influence and the assassinations of
Mm-hmm.
those in the field. You know, my mother was one of the, amongst so many others, indiscriminate to their skin color that they already had identified. So yeah, so yeah, yes, yes. So we talked about a little of the academic journey. We talked a little bit about this other journey. Can we delve into your spiritual journey and path? You looking like, oh Lord, how much time you got? Yeah, you
It's
asking me.
it's not a long story for sure. I was raised very much in the church. I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's daughter. Keep your preacher's daughter jokes to yourselves. I am a preacher's daughter, so I was raised very much in the church. But for the first part of my life, for maybe the first 6 or 7 years, my mom was a gangster. My mom was a trap queen before we knew what a trap queen was.
Hey,
Before she found Jesus, she was very much in these streets. And so that was what I was exposed to. That was what I was around. Even now that my mom is a preacher, she still got gold teeth. She's still, she still got that tinge of hood in there. But before she found religion, I was exposed to just that street life, that fast way of living. I saw a lot of violence. I saw her perform acts of violence. My mama would beat somebody down. And then all of a sudden, we go to church one day. I think it was a funeral. And at this point, I've only been inside of a black church when somebody dies. I've never sat in a church service. And I think I'm like 8 years old. And they're singing. And I see people jumping up and shouting and passing out. And so I'm looking around like, what in the world is going on? I've never seen this in my life. What is happening? And I saw them lay hands on my mama and she passed out. Now, the 8-year-old me, exposed to the environment that I had been exposed to, I want to fight because y'all just knocked my mama out and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what Holy Ghost you talking about, lady, but you just pushed my mama in the floor. So I want to fight. And so it took a lot for them to calm me down and explain to me what was going on. And from that day forward, my mom did a whole 180. She changed her life completely, from the way she dressed, the people that she was around, the music that she listened to. Everything changed, and it changed so drastically that I couldn't really catch up. It's like Saturday night, I was outside with my cousins dancing to Uncle Luke, and then Sunday night, she throwing CDs away, and we can't listen to this no more. We can't watch this on TV, and I was thoroughly confused. But she dedicated her life to Christ. She ended up becoming a minister. And so I was in church every time the doors of the church opened. But being an empathic person and being able to pick up on people's vibes and their true energies, I realized there was a whole lot more devils in church than what people thought it was. And so I just didn't connect with it. I was going because I was young and I was forced to. But as soon as she told me it's up to you if you go to church, I stopped. I'm not going no more. This doesn't feel like a safe space to me. This feels very predatory. There's older men in the church messing with younger women. There's women in the church that's supposed to be in high regard and hold these higher positions to sleeping with other women's husbands. And I see all of this happening, and I'm like, the way y'all have described God to me, this ain't supposed to be going on. So it kind of turned me completely away from it. And with my family having an African background and a Native American background, I kind of dabbled in shamanism and herbalism and things like that, and African religions. I started off being interested in Ifa and trying to adapt to those principles, but it felt very much like church. It still felt very restrictive. It still felt very putting you in a controlled situation. And my idea of God is unrestricted. If there is a creator that made all of this and made all of us, where are all these restrictions coming from? Where's this box coming from that you're trying to put me in? It should feel natural. It shouldn't feel forced. If I got to force myself to pray, I ain't got no business praying. If I got to force myself to get up and sing and shout and run around the church, it's not genuine. That's not coming from my soul. If I feel like standing up to clap and I'm so led, then I'll do that. But if I'm not, I'm going to sit there straight faced and wait on y'all to finish a little song. And so spirituality just needed to feel natural for me. And so I studied different religions thinking if I study all of them, the truth going to be in the middle somewhere. Like the things that they have in common, those may be the things that are real. And so I studied with the Nation of Gods and Earths. I studied with, listening to people like Khalid Muhammad, Brother Farrakhan, listening to Buddhists, listening to people who practice different things. And I took what resonated with me. I took what felt right to me. And I went with that. And the things that did not feel natural or sit right with me, I dismissed them. And so I'm in a space where now I would say it's more of African traditional religions, but it's very eclectic. It's very much, I still meditate, I still do yoga. Anything that's going to promote health and wealth and prosperity and abundance, I'm going to practice that. And if it feels right to me, then it is right for me. But if it doesn't, my spirit is going to reject it. And my spirit wholeheartedly rejects a lot of what happens in the Black church. So I simply don't go. So it's not a long story, but it took a little journey in figuring myself out. But what I figured out is that you can't look outside of yourself for something you were born with. I was looking for a light everywhere but within me. I was looking for something to tell me what was right or wrong or to go left or right when I was born knowing that. I always tell my students, you don't learn things, you remember things. You were born knowing everything that you need to know. Something has to trigger that memory, though, for it to come to the surface. But I remembered who I was. I settled into what I was and who I was. And I took it very literally when it was said that we were created in God's image. Because if I'm created in God's image, then treat me as such. Don't treat me as anything less than that. Don't address me as someone trying to be like God. I was born as God in the flesh. I literally give life. I bring life into this world. So to me, and I've literally told men this before, I bring souls into this universe. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. You lower your voice when you speak to me. And it works. And they have to respect that because that's the way that I carry myself. And I reject anything less than that. So I get a lot of backlash. They're like, oh, she's arrogant. She says she's God in the flesh. And your Bible said that. Your God that you follow said that. So I have always been of the school of thought that I didn't come from no man's rib, because if that was the case, we'd be cracking brothers open right now to make women. No, you came from me, brother, and you're welcome. But I very much carry myself in that goddess complex, that queen complex. And because that's how I regard myself, that's how everybody else around me is required to regard me.
That's what I'm talking about. Lower your damn voice, first of all.
That
And
is
it'd be
something
like,
that if anybody's ever been in my presence, they will tell you, if you speak to me in a certain tone, I will act like I didn't hear you. I don't care if you're 60 or 100. If you yell at me, if you raise your voice at me, if you approach me in an aggressive way, I just simply won't respond to you until you correct yourself and make those adjustments. Because I'm not hard of hearing. You don't have to yell. I'm also someone deserving of respect and deserving of a certain reverence. So when you approach me, you're going to approach me like you're approaching a queen or a goddess. You're going to talk to me the same way that you would talk to Queen Elizabeth, the same way that you would talk if you were standing in front of Nefertiti, because I deserve that. You don't have any other option, because it's talk to me the way that I require or don't talk to me. And I think a lot of our sisters should have that, because you can't come and call me out my name. You can't come treat me like a city girl when I know I'm a goddess. You can't do that with me. You have to approach me in the proper way or simply don't approach me.
Watch your tone and keep your hands on your head. That's what they said in Play Stuff. He's like, so ain't nobody lie to us. He said, so watch your tone. Keep your hands on your head. Okay? Yes. 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 All phrases do. Won't she do it? You understand what I'm saying? Won't she do it? So we went into the spiritual, we went into the educational. Now let's talk about the entrepreneurial, because you didn't have a journey. How did you get into your entrepreneurial path in the space of becoming self-determining in that regard?
I think that I looked at my ancestors and how they always made that cliche statement that you're your ancestors' wildest dreams. I took that very literal. I looked at the ancestors that I had that were slaves, and even after slavery, I watched my great grandmother go clean white people's houses until she was very old in age. I watched them, in the South. These women think you can be a hairstylist, working a meal somewhere, or pretty much those are your job options. And so I watched women do this manual labor. And I watched how it broke them down spiritually to have to work and slave so hard and work to make somebody else rich. And so my thought process was always, I want to work for me. I want to set my own schedule. I want to make my own rules. I want to set my own expectations. And I want to make my own money. And so in my younger years, I found some not so great ways of doing that. And, thankfully I was delivered from that. But the goal was always to be self-sufficient. I did not want for anybody to be able to take something away from me. I don't want to be able to come into work and clock into a job and they say they don't need me anymore. And now I got to figure out what I got to do. I can't fire me. So let me go work for me. And so that was always the process behind that. When it came to incorporating the spiritual side along with my mental health background and all of that and making it work together, I wanted to start a platform where Black women specifically could come and be heard and be seen without being judged. And so the very first thing that I started doing was what we called a goddess circle, where once a week on Wednesday nights, I would create a Zoom link and send it out for free to any Black women who wanted to come, any brown women who wanted to come, and whether they needed to vent, whether they just needed to laugh and talk, whether they needed guidance spiritually or from a mental health perspective. I just wanted to create that platform like I saw growing up where all the aunties get together and had them a glass of wine and talk through their problems. I wanted to create that and bring that back. And so that was the first step that I took as an entrepreneur on this side of things. And it grew and grew, and it started off with maybe a handful of women. And I started to teach classes on things like stress management, things like financial literacy, things like having parent support groups. Come on here and vent about how bad them kids was this week. Um, and it just grew from there. The classes kept growing. I ended up creating a whole House of Blanco Academy. And I think I went from my first year having about 250 students enrolled, and now I have over 3,000. And so that me being able to help and give back in that way makes it not feel like work. And to me, that's the best kind of work. If I have to get up every day and do something I love to do anyway and get paid for it, I'm going to keep doing it. It works for me.
Now you done built up a global audience. You know, how do you take or do you take your cultural roots and have them be adaptive to people from different places, spaces, their own cultural backgrounds, their own language, language connections, language barriers. How do you craft your message for each particular group, or do you have to?
So this is where you gonna get me in trouble. This is where you gonna get me in trouble, bro. I don't make those adjustments, and I'll explain
Okay.
to you why. Um, Number one, if you were sent to me, I'm of the thought that if the creator, the universe, however you see it, sent you to me, they know what type of message I have. They know what type of delivery I have. So if they sent you here, it was because you need what I have. I don't need to. And so if you come from a different culture, if you speak a different language, I have things like translator apps and stuff to work with language barriers. But as far as culturally, I'm not changing anything. You're gonna get all of this blackness. Like
Mm.
Becky with the good hair can come see me if she want to, but she need to understand that her therapy session gonna sound like this right here. A therapy session isn't gonna have a lot of, oh no, are you kidding me? It's gonna be, I know you fucking lying, girl. Like that's
Oh.
what you're gonna get when you come to me. And I feel like people know that before they get here. And so I don't make a lot of adjustments culturally. I think that everything started with a woman that looked like me. And so you don't really have a culture. You have a spinoff of my culture. So by coming to me, you coming home and you're going to get what you get at grandma's house. You're going to get what you're supposed to get at home. I'm not going to adjust to your spinoff. You got to come back to your roots. So yeah, you might get me in trouble for that one, but yeah, they gonna get all this blackness when they come over here.
I ain't gonna tell nobody else. Okay. You ain't gonna tell nobody else. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I came from a background where I am biracial, and a lot of people don't realize that. I am biracial, but I was raised by black parents. My mom remarried a black man who is very much pro-black, and I can remember being young, and the Malcolm X movie came out with Denzel Washington, and I
Mm.
wanted to see it so bad, and I was way too young to be watching this movie, but I wanted to see this movie so bad. And him thinking that I couldn't do it, I don't use the term stepdad, that's my dad. But my dad, he's like, if you can read this Malcolm X biography by Alex Haley, if you read this whole book, I'll let you watch the movie. I'll take you to see the movie myself. So I'm like, okay, say less. So he hands me this big thick book, and I'm like, ain't no way in the world. I'm 7 years old, my God. Like I'm not gonna be able to read. But I did. I sat down and I read it, and he would quiz me on what I read. And when I finished it, I was so excited. Went running to him that Saturday, like, yes, I finished it. You said you was gonna take me to watch the movie, and he did. And I cried like a baby watching this movie. I cried like Malcolm was my uncle or somebody. By the time they
Mm.
took him up out of here, my poor little 7-year-old heart was just broken. And I took that and I felt like, he talked to me about it. My dad talked to me about it afterwards because I was visibly shaken and upset. And I was like, all he wanted to do was help black people. He was like, yeah, but you have to understand there's people in this world that don't want that. And I didn't understand as a kid what he meant. And throughout my life, he instilled in me that before you're anything, it doesn't matter if you're biracial, it doesn't matter if you're pretty, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, before you're anything, you're black. And I took that and I kept that in the back of my mind. And he said, you can define what that means to people. You're going to be black regardless, but you get to decide what being black means when people come in contact with you. Does being black mean excellence for you? Is that what you display? Does being black mean being ghetto and ignorant? What does being black mean for you? And so I've always kind of kept that in the back of my mind as I move forward, and especially when I deal with people of other races, because I was this was instilled in me from a young age that black is superior, that black is the beginning of things, that that Black is just excellent and amazing. And so I don't feel that need to bend and conform when it comes to dealing with other cultures and other races, because, like I said, you started from me. And even living in North Carolina now, there's a lot of, when all the Black Lives Matter protests and I was on CNN and doing all of these things, there's a lot of white people that they didn't like me too much. They would see me and want to approach me in the grocery store, try to debate me or attack me on social media and say that I'm racist and all of these things. But one of the CNN reporters asked me during the Charlotte protests, do you feel inferior to these white people that attack you? Do you feel unsafe, or do you feel less than when they talk to you like that? And I had to look this woman square in her eyes and tell her I will never feel inferior to something that I created. I'll never
Mm.
feel inferior to something that won't even exist without me. The whole reason that you're here is, again, you're a spinoff. You're a remix of a woman that looks like me. So no, you can't make me feel inferior. You can hurl all the racial insults at me. You can attack me verbally, long as you don't put your hands on me, because Becky will get pop pop. But
Mm.
you can do all of those things to me, because in my mind, what my Blackness means is I'm already up here and you don't have the authority to bring me down here. You gonna either have to strive and struggle to get where I am, or you can stay down here and yell at me from beneath me. But you can't bring me down here. You don't have that type of power. So I push forward with that logic, and some people don't like it. Some people say it's racist. Some people say that it's, well, they call it a Black privilege, which I didn't even know was a thing. Some people call me a Black supremacist, but I feel like I'm a realist. I know where this thing started at. I know where this thing is going to end at, and I know what I'm capable of as a Black woman, and I'll always present myself as a Black woman first. So if you come to me and you want therapy or you want spiritual guidance, understand that you're getting spiritual guidance through the lens of a Black woman. And if you're not ready for that, then you need to go find you one of these crystal witches that'll sit and meditate and chant some Buddhist stuff with you, because that's not what you're going to get over here.
Mm. So I guess that leads to the next question in regards to skepticism from a holistic fashion. I know some of that advertisements, one of the biggest misconceptions is in regards to therapy, it ain't for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we better educate ourselves and our people in regards to the necessity of therapy, the necessity of ensuring that our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health and wellness uh, is we're better stewards of it. We're better in that regard, you know.
So I think there's a negative stigma around mental health in the Black community. They think that you go to therapy or you see a therapist if you're crazy. Like there has to be
Mm,
something wrong with you. But I always tell people, the same way that if you were having a hard time in a math class, you would go and get a tutor that is a little bit better at math than you and can show you how to get better grades or understand those concepts of math.
mm,
If you're struggling emotionally, you go and get a therapist, which is like a tutor for your emotions. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means that I've learned techniques to navigate through those emotions, and now I can teach you those techniques to help you get an A on that test. And so once I explain it to them that way, they don't feel that same negative stigma. They're a little more open to it. But I think that when people think about a therapist, they think of Dr. Phil, and they
mm,
think of some old white dude in there with glasses on, writing on a notepad and gonna give you some Xanax, or tell you something's wrong with you, or put you in the hospital in some creepy socks. And that's just not what
mhm,
I'm here for. I'm here to help you be the best you. And whether that comes from us having talk therapy, just talking through some things, whether that comes from me giving you tasks and assignments to sharpen your emotional intelligence, whether that comes from things like meditating or yoga or listening to binaural beats or frequencies, sound therapy, whatever method is going to make you a better you, that's what I'm going to strive to do. And so once they figure that out, they're a whole lot more open to therapy. At first, especially with some of the more holistic methods like Reiki and sound therapy, Black folks be like, okay, so you want me just to sit here, crisscross applesauce, and you gonna play a xylophone and I'm gonna feel better? I'm like, listen, sis, just try it out. Try it out. If you don't like it, we can move on to something else. But they always love it and they always feel better. So it's just a point of introducing them to something that they're not used to. But I always tell them, you want results that you haven't been getting, so you're gonna have to do something that you haven't been doing. So it's hard, especially Black men. Y'all do not want to go to therapy. Only time that Black men come to me and they want to go to therapy is when they done broke up with their girlfriend and they be like, yeah, I made an appointment. I'm gonna talk to the lady. I'm like, I'm the lady. But it's very hard to get a Black man in therapy because from a young boy, you were taught to internalize your emotions more than likely. You're taught that boys don't cry. You're taught that boys have to be tough, that you internalize those feelings. So now here I come as a therapist trying to get you to do the opposite of what you were raised and taught to do. It's uncomfortable. And so it is hard, but once they get in there, it's like opening the floodgates. They want to talk about something they seen when they was 3 years old and something mama did when they was 7, and they just let it flow. But you have to make them feel comfortable enough to do so.
That's true. That is true, unfortunately. So today is the winter solstice. Okay. That's what I keep hearing anyway all day. And I hear winter solstice, I
Mhm.
hear Mercury retrograde and all that stuff. I don't know what none of that stuff is. Okay. I just know it's the 21st
Mhm.
of December
Mhm.
and whatever that means. Okay. So if you got some expertise or some understanding in there, can you explain what the winter solstice is and the
So the
Mercury
solstice
in Hennessy? Okay. The Mercury in Hennessy.
is the winter solstice is basically just the seasons changing, and it is the position of the sun. A solstice just
Mm.
means the sun is here. So back in the day, before we had all of these different religions and all of these different gods that everyone followed, the only thing that was constant was the sun would rise and fall every day. So
Mm.
people thought that was God. That's the biggest thing they've ever seen is the sun. It's always there every day and it's constant, it's consistent. And so people worship the sun, especially like in Kemetic and Egyptian societies, they worship the sun. And so that's where you get the Son of God, what they call Jesus, is the literal Son of God that they were worshiping in the beginning. And so they would go by these solstices. They would go by the position of the sun. If it's at its highest point, if it's at its lowest point, does it get dark early? Does it get dark later? They would dictate things based off the behavior of the sun. And so, of course, in the winter, now you see it starts to get dark early. So they took that as God goes away earlier now, so we should be resting more now. God isn't in the sky as much as he was before, or she was before, so now we need to be resting when it's darker. And so they would base their lives and their activities off of that. So the winter solstice doesn't mean much to us now, other than a change in seasons. It's officially winter. But back then, they dictated their lives off of that. Now, Mercury retrograde, the planets spin around in one direction. When they go into retrograde, they spin the other way. And so, because of that, it changes things like the magnetic field in the air. It changes, it messes with electronics, it messes with radio waves, with satellite signals, because the planet is literally spinning the opposite way. Because we have these different metals and things in our bodies, it affects us too. Because Mercury is one big magnet that was turning this way and now it's turning this way. And so it causes mood swings. It messes up all of our devices, cell phones. It causes communication errors and falling outs between people because we may be a little more aggressive because that magnet is pulling on the metals in our bodies. And so it lasts for a short time. It happens about 3 times a year. But during that time, it's just chaos. You're more prone to chaos because that planet is spinning the other way. And all the planets go in retrograde at some point. But Mercury seems to be the one that causes the most chaos and problems with technology and communications. So it's no big deal. It's just the planet turning a different way for a little bit.
That's it.
That's all. And people be blaming stuff on Mercury retrograde that ain't got nothing to do with it. To me,
Mm.
the reason I don't have a hard time in Mercury retrograde is because I get myself in order all year round. So then when Mercury decided it want to spin the other way, I'm good. If you take care of yourself and have yourself together before the retrograde, you're not going to get hit like that. But if your life was already unorganized, you were already overly aggressive, already having communication issues, then when this big magnet is spinning the other way, yeah, it's gonna cause you some issues because you already was a mess before the retrograde started. So some folks be blaming it on the retrograde. Some people don't even know what a retrograde is. They just seen it on a meme on Facebook, but they'll blame it on the retrograde when it's really lack of accountability.
I'm gonna blame it on Navy Federal because Navy Federal credit union.
Mm,
They Mercury always in retrograde. Okay.
yeah, they be going through some things. I think it's the scammers, man. It's the scammers messing up the system.
Yeah. I think the scammers is running the system up in it. Okay. I think the scammers is running the system. Yeah. They Mercury always in retrograde.
Mm,
So the calendar year is coming to a close. We got like 10 days left for
mm.
the calendar year 2023. You know, the wise folks out there, they remind me don't nothing grow in the dead of winter, so it ain't the new year. You know, they smart. I'll be paying attention. You know, the calendar year, the growing calendar year 2023 is coming to a close. Two of the biggest lessons, greatest lessons, however you want to term it for 2023 that you learned about yourself, learned about whatever, whomever, wherever, 2023.
One of the biggest lessons I think I learned in 2023 is that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And sometimes
Mm.
you just got to give yourself that space to not be all right. Whether you got to cry, you got to curse, you got to scream, give yourself that space to not be okay because you got to release that energy some type of way. I lost my oldest sister a couple of months ago, and I was just kind of going through the motions, internalizing everything. Even though as a therapist and a spiritualist, I knew better than to do that. But I was
Mm.
the strong one for everybody around me. And so I didn't properly grieve the way that I needed to because I was too busy taking care of everybody else. And so it got to a point where I was at home alone after the funeral, everything settled. I'm at home by myself and I just screamed. I mean, I screamed from the bottom of my soul. And I felt so much better afterwards. I had to give myself just that couple of minutes to not be okay, to fall apart, to cry, to scream, to be angry, to do whatever I need to do in that moment. I had to release that. And that was something that I hadn't been doing before. I think that even with my background in mental health and me knowing what I know spiritually, I had placed myself and assigned myself this job of everybody's caretaker. And so
Mm.
I can't break down because I need to make sure you hold it together. And so 2023 taught me, no, girl, you got to take care of you too. You got to not be okay sometimes. So that was one of the biggest lessons. Um, The other lesson that I learned was if you could do something about it, do something about it. If you
Mm.
can't, what are you stressing for? Like if I can't do anything about it, if I can't do anything to fix it or change it, me sitting around stressing and worrying about it is not going to help anything. So I simply don't. And it comes across to people who don't know me as being very nonchalant, like I don't care about things, but it's a form of protecting my peace. If I can't do anything about your behavior and how you act towards me, let me just get away from you because I can't change you. So let me change the situation. And so I handle everything in my life like that. If I can't fix it, if I can't make it better, either I need to get away from it or I need to find a way to work with it. But stressing is not an option. And so learning those two lessons this year definitely it helped me and it gave me just a whole lot more peace than what I've had in past years for sure.
Right. What's something you leaving in 2023? You retiring it.
What am I leaving in 2023? Zeus TV. Let me tell you. I just had this conversation with my mom last night. One of my guilty pleasures this year, because I had so much like downtime. One of my guilty pleasures this year became watching Zeus TV. And I watch it from a therapy and a spiritualist like mindset. And so it's different for me. I'm like analyzing these people and figuring out what they need to better themselves. And it's exhausting. Some of these reality folks, they are living in anything but reality.
Mm.
They are really, really off balance. And so I was almost addicted to watching this nonsense. Like it was almost homework or case studies for me to watch these people make these terrible decisions. And so I decided moving forward, I'm leaving Zeus CB behind because it is a hot mess.
You out, Zeus. Okay. No more Zeus TV.
Yeah, they done Krishan and Blueface me to death. I can't do it no more.
What's one thing you're looking forward to in 2024 that you can share?
Something I am looking forward to. My son will be turning 2. And so he
Hey.
age now where he's starting to understand things and he's starting to develop his own little personality. And so I'm looking forward to just seeing him experiencing new things. Like this is the first time that he's been somewhat old enough to understand like Christmas and things like that. And he's learning so much. He's a very advanced young man, but I'm looking forward to watching him grow over the next year because he's that 2 and 3 year old stage is really fascinating for a kid because it just shapes and molds their whole little personality. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Okay. Okay. Last question. You are the trap therapist. You make mountains move. You helping changing lives and saving relationships of all types and kinds and things of that nature. What grade would you give you for how you treat you in the realm of balance, in the realm of self care, in the realm of your own actualization? What grade would you give
Now I'm at the top of the class. Like
you?
now
Okay.
I'm definitely at an A plus. In the past, not so much. And I think that this year I found so much value in me
Hmm.
and found I realized that it's okay to celebrate me. Something that, I don't know how many African families you know, but there's this stereotypical like expectation that you're just supposed to do well. You're not supposed to
Hmm.
mess up. You're supposed to do well. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to do these things. And
Hmm.
so when you accomplish these things, there's not an applause or a celebration. It's like, okay, you did what you were supposed to do. And so I got used to not celebrating myself. I got used to doing these amazing things and accomplishing all these things, getting all these letters behind my names, 100 degrees, and starting all these businesses, but not taking time to celebrate that. because in my mind, I'm just supposed to do well and I don't have another option. And so I started to celebrate myself more this year. In the past, like especially on social media, if I would graduate from a program or if I would start a new business or expand my business in some way, I wouldn't say a word. I wouldn't say anything. Um, I just kind of silently patted myself on the back and went on. But when I got this last degree last week, I was like, oh no, I'm telling the world about this because I worked my butt off. And it just felt different. I was able to celebrate that, able to recognize that that's not something that everybody can do, and recognize something that was just an advancement and an improvement on my life. And so now that I celebrate myself more and I see more value in me, I almost feel wrong if I don't clap for me. I almost feel
Mm.
doing something wrong if I'm not celebrating myself or acknowledging my accomplishments. So now I do believe I get an A plus, but before it definitely wasn't like that. It took some time to get here.
I love that. I love that. I love that progression and being okay with that. Because there's so many roles and positions you in and you making everything happen. And, if you don't take no time for you, what is it all for? Everything else and everybody else, they're going to be all right. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, what about you? What about you? I commend you for that. Final thoughts for the family, how they can get a hold of you, how they can leverage the benefit of your services, your products, your gifts, your talents, your time up in the trap. You understand what I'm saying? Uh,
Everything
and
with me is accessed through houseofblanco.com, HAUS of BLANCO.com. You can book appointments there, you can book readings there, sign up for classes, anything that I offer, you can reach through that website.
all right, you got a final word for us.
A final word, let's see. I think, especially for my melanated people, is just to be you and be the best version of yourself. And by
Mm,
be you, I mean, I'm a big advocate of not, as I said earlier, making adjustments for other people or downplaying our culture, our mannerisms, the way that we move for other people. I think you are able to be you, be the best version of you, and still do whatever it is that you want to do. As they can probably tell from this interview, I don't code switch. I don't change the way I talk. Most people that have multiple doctorates, they sound like real proper and Carlton
mm,
Banks, but that's just not me. I like to speak Ebonics and I'm country as hell, and this is what y'all gonna get. And I'm more comfortable that way. If you're so focused on being something outside of yourself, you're taking the energy and the focus away from what you need to be paying attention to. If you're focused on playing this character and making sure that you look a certain way and talk a certain way and come across a certain way, you're not focused on the job at hand and what you're set here to do on your purpose. So I say be you, be uniquely you, and be the best version of you. And you'll get a whole lot further than out here pretending and code switching and trying to be something that you're not.
and she said, watch your tone
Absolutely.
and keep your hands on your head. Okay.
As I told him in one TikTok video, the young psalmist Lola Brooke came forth with that mighty word of "Don't play with it." She told him that.
Right.
She said it in her
Right.
word, and so definitely approach with caution.
Definitely. Doc, thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for jewels. Thank you for being an advocate. You could be doing anything else in the universe and get $1 trillion doing it. You see what I'm saying? You're that talented, you're that gifted. You could be working for our enemies against us. You understand what I'm saying? I thank you wholeheartedly for pursuing the passion and creating a lifestyle that's rewarding and fulfilling to you, to your family, to your ancestral lineage, and your spiritual lineage. And that you continue to find ways to break barriers of our minds, of our hearts, of our stigmas, of our skepticism, and continuing to love us in the way that you do. See what I'm saying? So, honest to you, Lordess of the trap. Keep the trap trapping.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, and tap in anytime. I'll come on back and run my mouth some more.
Yes. Yeah, we need like a monthly check-in or something.
Listen, I'm all for it. Just let me know.
All right. Peace and blessings to you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
So, bye-bye.
No, we didn't check then. Swear to God, we finna get all this money. Watch what I tell you.
My eleke. You may think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean every day they so. Hey, don't touch my eleke. You may think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean. And I say I shit. I gotta say I shit. I shit. And I say I shit. Elegba, Oshun, and Obatala. And I say I shit. Mokio, I shit, and I say I shit, and Oya, and Shango, and Yemoja. I got it, currency in my pocket, nature around my neck, front and center I rock it. Never tuck them, so folk wanna touch them, they need to stop it. Trying to find them on lines like mine, you never cop it. My eleke is living, reason why I be winning. Jealous of my position, but I'm just at the beginning. Demonizing the forces, no intercourses I'm giving. Christians feel like I'm sinning the way the heavens be bending for me. I'm in the flow, I get the dough, I'm giving more, it's reciprocal. Every dose could be poison or be medicinal. Truth is blatant to those who know what to listen for. Yep, a treasure chest in every mic check. Steady in the altitude and we ain't on the flight yet. Calling me the champion, I ain't even won the fight yet. Mooch is sticking to us for that juju that they might get. Hey, don't touch my eleke. You may think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean every day they so. Hey, don't touch my eleke. You may think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean. And I say I shit. Somebody say I shit. I shit. And I say I shit. Egongo, Babaluaye, and Ita. And I say I shit. Mokio, I shit. And I say I shit. Ochosi, Ogun, and Orumila.
Got them holy beads around my neck. Them sacred guides on deck. Yep, it gets protection all around. Kosi Wahala, big blessings abound. I'm open to receive all the things this universe has laid at my feet, and I'm walking yellow brick road and laid with gold. Oh yeah, I get it from my mama, she reigning on her throne. La de Koju, Oriye Oshun, hell, sea water goddess, keep that blade and some honey. Lord, she just keep going, hard to stop when she gets started. A river flowing, anointed from head to toe, baptized, got Orisha by my side, then my eagle all around, ain't nothing stopping me now. Full force on them, full glow on them. Spirit realm said go, so I move for them. A walking altar.
And I say I shit. I shit. And I say I shit. And I say I shit. I shit. And I say I shit. And I say I think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean every day they so. Hey, don't touch my eleke. You may think they pretty, but to me it's not for play. Power in my jewelry, clear the scene like an AK. Full body protection, looking clean.
Yeah, see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Woo! You didn't hit him, Baba. 10, 2, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. God. 20. Good day. Who this messing my count up? Alive for you, bruh. I told you we was gonna hit. Yeah. Shoot, I'm counting me and Baba out right now. I'm waiting on Sunday to come out, hit her. We good. She finding out right now. We checking in. Hold on. Good. About to hit him again.
Ishtar sat at the entrance in front of the Great Pyramid at Giza, thinking about the journey that was before her. All she had created and built for her descendants had been stolen from them. She sat staring into the glowing pyramid device made of Ethiopian opal that she possessed as reigning empress of Kemet. It could be fastened upon her scepter. It held the energy and power of the supreme gods. She chanted the sacred words and released her energy into the pyramid to activate it. She needed to reconstruct the monthly viewing from a few days ago. She had to be sure of what she saw when activating it under that full moon. Show me more, O great light. Show me more, I beseech thee, she said in the ancient language of her time. She then projected the intention of seeing next month's future viewing. The pyramid device obliged and obeyed her request. She was about to release more of her energy into the pyramid when she heard a voice from behind call her name. She turned and saw her mate Sneferu. Ishtar's heart dropped to her stomach. She knew what it meant for her to get caught at the pyramid at Giza, performing this ritual at any other time but under a full moon. And it was far worse for her to open the portal and travel anywhere but to the places the Hermetic Council told her to. This was strictly forbidden. Sneferu ran towards Ishtar when he saw the pigment leaving her once charcoal black flesh because she was giving energy to the pyramid. He knew of the danger that she was in. Ishtar knew she couldn't let him stop her plans. Not after what she had just saw. She knew she didn't have enough time to explain the story to him and then have enough energy to open the portal again for travel. She turned and ran towards the portal as she yelled to Sneferu, "I must go! Our children need me! Ishtar, no!" he yelled. But it was too late. She had disintegrated her atoms and disappeared into the ethereal rainbow of light coming from the Great Pyramid. Our connection is unspoken. Our paths do indeed be the same. Let our lights speak. Open doth our ears remain. Intriguing be the dictation, causing the subconscious to awaken one to change. We are separate only in degree, yet we are one within the flame. My pen bleeds the voices of a million ancestors slain.